Hello, and welcome to the third episode of Transfer Pricing for the New Normal. I'm Andrew Fairfoull, a tax partner in PwC Singapore, and I lead the transfer pricing practice. Today, we're going to be talking about benchmarking, financial testing, transfer pricing documentation, and APAs, all in a post-COVID-19 context. I'm joined for this discussion today by Falgun Thakkar, who's a partner with me here in PwC Singapore, and Abhishek Shukla, who's a director in our transfer pricing practice. Let's start with benchmarking. Abhishek, turning to you, what's benchmarking data? Where do we get it from and how old is it?
This is basically the data which is sourced publicly, through the independent global databases. Typically, the data over there is 12 to 18 months old, and which is after filing the accounts. So that's the crux of the issue. What is going to happen is that there would be a significant divergence between the tested party results, which is under COVID-19, versus these reference ranges, which are historical.
I see. So if I'm testing a set of results for a company ending in the year 2020, the benchmarking data that I'm testing those results against comes from, say, 2018, pre-COVID-19. So how reliable is that data?
That data is not reliable, and that depends upon the sector which we are looking at. So what one can start doing over here is pragmatically to look at the wider set of data and start doing some kind of regression analysis, basically via the use of GDP or PMI correlations. You start tweaking the data.
So once we're happy with the benchmarking data, we need to test our results against that data. How do you go about doing that?
If you are within the data range, then you typically are not supposed to do anything. And should you be outside the range, there is where the client can choose to do certain statistical analysis, which could be in a way of special factor analysis or term testing as provided under the COVID-19 guidelines by the Singapore IRS. However, if you still want to defend your position outside the range, then one should definitely rely on the Singapore IRS circular on COVID-19, wherein it is very clearly stated that you bring out the industry data, how you are managing your risk, and what has been your pre-COVID versus the actual results. So that could be the ways you can manage it.
I see. So there's quite a lot of work involved in that. Is this a time-sensitive exercise?
Definitely, yes. You should do it prior closure of your financial accounts.
So prior to the close of the financial accounts, I suppose in case you need to make an adjustment, better to make it before the year closes than afterwards. Abhishek, thank you very much for sharing your insights on that. Let's turn now to APAs. Falgun, perhaps you could just start by explaining to us what is an APA.
Thank you, Andrew. An APA is an advanced pricing agreement. It means that you approach the tax authorities of a jurisdiction to get certainty on your transfer pricing arrangements in advance. It can be done unilaterally with the authority of one country, or it could be done on a bilateral or multilateral basis with the authorities of two or more jurisdictions at the same time.
I see. And what sort of time period can you get that forward assurance on the transfer pricing for?
Typically, an APA is for 5 years into the future.
So 5 years from today's very uncertain year sounds like a very long way into the future. Are APAs still available?
Yeah, it does sound ironic, right, Andrew, that we are trying to get certainty in the times of uncertainty. But the short answer to your question is yes, they are available. In fact, IRA circular also says that they are available. Two scenarios to consider. Your sector is not affected by COVID-19, business as usual, you can apply for APA. If your sector is affected by COVID-19, we just need to plan some approaches and strategies before approaching the tax authorities. This could be either breaking down your APA in two periods, having different sets of facts and assumptions for two different periods, or doing term testing. But again, no one size fits all. There are possible avenues to think about it.
I see. So good news there. Now, what about for those companies that have flight APAs running at the moment? Anything for them to worry about?
So the companies who have currently applied for APAs, they would have something typically in their agreement with the authorities called critical assumptions.
Critical assumptions. Can you explain what they are?
Yes, it's a set of assumptions which are the basis of your agreement. And if those assumptions are breached, then that agreement could fall through. So if you already have an APA right now with the authorities, you should look at your critical assumptions, see if they have been breached. And if so, come up with a few plans and go and approach the tax authorities on proactive basis to say why you have breached a critical assumption and what is the plan for the remaining part of the APA.
So a little bit of due diligence required by taxpayers there just to make sure that they're not tripping up on those critical assumptions. Falgun, Abhishek, thank you very much for joining me today in this discussion. I think we'll leave it there. Just to conclude, what we've heard is that in relation to financial testing and benchmarking, really this is a 2020 activity. Far better to get that exercise completed before the end of your financial year, just in case you need to put through any true-ups. Secondly, if you are benefiting currently from advanced pricing agreements, please do make sure that you check those critical assumptions. I hope you've enjoyed this session. We'll look forward to seeing you for the next episode. Thank you and goodbye.